a lot of things has happened with the Fani Willis case against Trump in Georgia. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is because I want to emphasize the importance of credibility. And the reason I want to do that is because a lot of liberals are saying it doesn't matter about Fani. Trump's guilty. We heard the phone call. And whenever I hear two liberals in a row, that's all it takes for me to hear two liberals repeat that, then I know, first of all, there's a talking point. It's a talking point. The liberal media, they pass out talking points, and their sheeple picks it up. It doesn't matter. But let me tell you something. Credibility always matters. When you hold an office like a district attorney, a judge, or any political or public office, credibility is assumed. It's already assumed for that office. That office is a symbol, supposed to be, of credibility. And it has to be. That doesn't mean that the people are really credible, but that's the impression that everybody thinks. This is a credible person, so if they bring a case, then they're credible. Same thing with the judges. Now, we all have found out, at least under the Trump, since Trump came down the escalators, and it's sad. I don't want to admit this. I don't want this to happen, but we have already found out that a lot of these people in these positions are not credible. And it's a detriment to the United States. It is. It's really sad. But we found this out. A lot of people aren't credible. But a lot of people are saying it does not matter about Fani because, see, they want to get Trump, basically. And they said, we heard the phone call. We heard what he tried to make Raffensperger or whatever his name, find me some votes and whatever, okay? But credibility does matter, okay? So now we found out yesterday, it was like a bombshell, that Fani and Wade perjured themselves, basically. Perjury is I guess a felon, because do you remember, I don't know whether you guys remember Scooter Libby. It's under the Bush administration. See, I follow so much history, I don't forget stuff, but a lot of people do. Scooter Libby, I think he was sentenced to like 5 years in prison for supposedly perjuring himself. And really, he didn't really perjure himself. He forgot something. So they had, this is again during the Valerie Plame case, where they claimed somebody in the Bush administration blew her cover. She was supposed to have been a CIA agent or something. Well, anyway, so they were investigating everybody in the Bush administration to find out where the supposed leak came from that blew her cover. So they were interviewing Scooter Libby, but it was about something else. Because when they started investigating and interviewing people, they started, digging and asking questions about different stuff. And something they had asked Scooter Libby about, it had nothing to do with, I don't think, Valerie Plame. It was just something. And he had given one answer. And then when they went back to him later, he had forgotten what he had said. And so he didn't really try to lie. He just forgot. But they, perjury, they boom, because it was a special prosecutor that was handling that. So now, if they do the right thing, with Fani and her lover, who was also the person that she assigned to prosecute Trump, basically, a special prosecutor, they should be doing jail time. Okay, what did they lie about? They lied about when the relationship started. Now, of course, Fani's friend testified that she knew that the relationship started in 2019. And remember, Fani and Wade said the relationship didn't start until after she had appointed him. Well, come to find out, they looked at, they traced their cell phone traffic and all that. And listen, cell phone traffic, if they want to get anybody, and I'm just telling you this, and everybody should know this, Fani should have known this. She's an attorney, Wade's an attorney. They should have known that when somebody's going to investigate you, they can get your cell phone information, and they can track you everywhere you've been. So the cell phone information was just damning, okay? It showed that how many times, I don't know how many times this man was at her house, how he spent the night, and years back, not after she had appointed him. So of course, both of them got up there and perjured themselves. So to that alone is enough to go to jail. Now, whether they'll go to jail or not, who knows? But that's enough to go to jail. Okay, and so that's that part. And then, Fanny got up there bragging about all the cash that she had in her house. They couldn't trace it from her bank account. Then she said something about she had it from her campaign. She kept it in her house. Cash that's not traceable. Therefore, they can say she tax evasion, whatever, evasion. They can say all this stuff. So all these crimes, ethical crimes that, ethical and then a criminal offenses, these two people are guilty of. Yet they are supposed to be prosecuting Trump and his cohorts, they call them. 18 of them, I think, because for racketeering and because they challenged the election. That's the basic thing. They challenged the election. They claim that Trump knew he had lost the election, but he just kept, saying it, knowing that the racketeering part comes in because they said he knowingly lied and spreaded this stuff. Then they held all these hearings. That was part of it. They held the hearing in Michigan and Wisconsin. But what they leave out is American citizens testified at these hearings. It wasn't Trump and Giuliani and them testifying. These were citizens coming forward and testifying. But the fact that they challenged it, this racketeering and this all this other stuff, and she got 18 people that she's prosecuting, and along with Trump. And then Trump, they claim, tried to overturn the election because he told Raffensperger or whatever, find me these votes. Okay, so you said we have that phone call, so it shouldn't matter what, forget Fonnie, he's still guilty. But that's not how it works, people. Because do you remember, if you follow things like I do, it's been a lot of times when district attorney offices has been investigated for corruption. And what do? They have to go back and look at every case that they prosecuted. One corruption charge, or somebody did something wrong, especially if it's the district attorney themselves, they have to go back and look at all the cases. They got people in prison. They have to go and look at their case. So yes, it does matter. It does matter if somebody does not have any credibility. I don't care if they saw the person shoot somebody. Why? They have to cross all the T's and dot all the I's, and that's why. So yeah, credibility. Let me give you some examples, a couple of personal examples where I've realized how powerful credibility is when it comes to any kind of accusation against somebody else. Now, I was in the military at this time, and I had 2 female troops basically under me. I was kind of like their supervisor. And they had claimed that our first sergeant, and I was in the Army at the time. Anybody that's ever been in the military or the Army, they know that the first sergeant is the highest ranking enlisted person in charge in a unit, in a military unit. They had claimed that the first sergeant was sexually harassing them. These were 2 single females. One of them had a child, so she lived in an apartment off base. She claimed he kept coming to her house. Plus, he was married and had a family of his own, but still, even if he didn't, he had no right to be going over to this female's house. So she claimed he was harassing her. She claimed he was coming to her house. The other one lived in the barracks because she was single. She claimed he was coming to the barracks room harassing her. So me being the supervisor, one of them had come to me and said, I want to file a sexual harassment complaint. Now, back then in the military, when you filed any kind of complaint, you had to start off with the chaplain. That's who got the ball rolling. That's the person that got the investigation going. It's different now than it was then. So me as a supervisor, I had to take her to the chaplain office so she could tell him what had happened and file a complaint. But because he was a man, I not only had to take her to his office, I had to go inside and listen, because I had to protect him and her, because he was a man and she was a girl, female. They couldn't be alone either. So I was basically there just to protect both of them, and that was it. I wasn't there to file a complaint. It wasn't even about me. So she filed her complaint. She was telling all this stuff to the chaplain and making sworn statements. So when she finished, the chaplain looked at me and said, has he ever, talking about the same first sergeant, has he ever said or done anything to you? And I said, well, no, not really. I said, he made a comment one time to me, and I said, but I got him straight, and he didn't bother me anymore. So I don't have any problems with him. He wasn't harassing me. The chaplain said, would you be willing to write whatever he said to you down on a sworn statement? I said, well, yeah, I'll write it down. Now, listen, remember, I'm not filing any complaints. And I let him know I'm not filing anything against this man. He hasn't done anything to me. So, but I did it. He said, well, write it down. I did it. I wrote the statement down. So later on, I guess the other female, she went and she filed her thing. Now, this is how it used to be. Whenever you filed, especially a complaint like that against somebody in the unit, the investigators would take over. And what they would do was go and investigate the accusers. They want to know about their character. And what they do is they would go to everybody in the unit, from the lowest private all the way up to the company commander, and it would ask questions about their character because they want to know, are these girls credible? So they had done that. Now, I'm out of it. I didn't know what was going on after that because I didn't care. My job was just to take her over there and basically chaperone her while she was telling her story, whatever. When it was all said and done with, okay, the chaplain briefed me about what had happened. So they got rid of him. They moved this first sergeant. They let him retire, basically. They did him a favor. He was able to, because he had at least 20 years. And so instead of just putting him out and ruining him, they let him go ahead and retire. Okay. The chaplain came to me and said, he told me what had happened. And I didn't think I should even hear any of that because I wasn't in it. Remember, I did not file a claim. He said if it was not for you, he would still be here. He told me that they had interviewed every person in our unit about those two girls. And everybody said the girls were liars, they were lazy, and they said all kind of things about those girls. Those are the ones that filed the complaint. But then he said, anytime we said, well, what about Dickson? If we told you Dickson said he said something, what would you say then? And he said, everybody in the unit said, if Dickson said it, then it's the truth. So that's how he got put away. My word alone was enough to get rid of this man, because they were trying to get rid of him anyway. But when it comes to sexual harassment, it's a he say, she say thing. So they never had anything to substantiate, I guess. And they were just waiting for people to come. Because I think a year prior, somebody had filed a complaint, but it didn't get anywhere because they couldn't substantiate it. So he was still there. But me, I am the person who was not even filing a complaint, and my word alone. And so one of my troops came to me, the little girl that I took over there, she says, thank you so much. If it wasn't for you, he'd still be here. She said, they didn't believe us. She said, they asked us to take lie detector tests because they didn't believe us. But they told us if it wasn't for you, he would still be here. So that is how powerful credibility is. And I felt bad about it. I remember telling a lady at my church about it. I said, listen, this man is gone because of me, and I wasn't filing any complaints against him. I said, I should have never made the statement. She said, yes, you should have. She said, didn't you tell the truth? I said, yes, but he didn't. See, he didn't say anything vulgar to me or out of character. He was just trying to be really slick with it. But, I shut him down, and he didn't bother me anymore. And I said, I feel bad. She said, no. But see, that is the importance of credibility. Credibility is important and it's powerful because it took a person's, my word, that's it. And he was gone. And he had two accusers that said he was doing all this stuff to them, and they didn't believe them because they didn't have any credibility with their co-workers. Another incident, this is like a few years later, I had a battalion commander, okay? She called me one night, and she says, they've just escorted me out of my office, the IG. Now, I forgot, I don't even know what her crime was. I don't even know. She says, but I need you to do me a favor. She says, I'm going to claim something about my mental health. And she said, I want you to write a sworn statement for me, claiming that I knew something about her mental health or something. And she said, they'll believe you, just your word alone. And this is a whole new unit. This is years later. I'm stationed somewhere else. This is what she said to me. And I said, no, ma'am, I'm not going to lie like that. But she was basically saying, even if you lie, they're going to believe you because you have so much credibility. And I wouldn't do it. Because let me tell you something about credibility. When you lose credibility, you cannot get it back. It's over. Fanny is finished. Her credibility is gone. Even if they don't take her license, which they probably will. who's going to hire her? She's not going to be district attorney anymore. But if they just let her slide, just say, we're just going to remove you from the district attorney's office. We're not going to send you to jail. We're not going to take your license. You just go on and live your life. Who's going to hire her? Who's going to say, my attorney is Fonnie Willis? Who's going to say that? Nobody. So when your credibility is gone, you have nothing left. So going back to this thing about Trump, all these liberals are saying it doesn't matter about, it does. In fact, the whole case could possibly, they may not do it, could be thrown out and had to start over because it's tainted. Because you have two people that lied over and over again about their own personal lives and what they were doing. The corruption. That's why credibility is important. And you remember how they were bragging about putting Trump in jail and this, that, and the other. Remember, I think it was Wade that wanted the mugshot so badly. They wanted to get his mugshot and he was going to put him in jail. Well, now they might end up in jail themselves. That's why it's best to make sure you got your life in order before you start bragging about putting someone else in jail. You could go to jail because they perjured themselves. We all know that. We saw the testimony, and then these cell phone records came out and contradicted it all. So that's why I wanted just to talk about the importance of credibility, people. Always keep your credibility. It's more than money. You can get more money, but because if you lose your credibility, you can't get that back. You might can make money some other kind of way, but you won't get your credibility back. Nobody will trust you. It goes for politics as well. When you see politicians lie and do all this stuff and be disloyal to people that help them get in office and then lie, because I just want to win, their credibility is shot. It is with me anyway. Because I wouldn't want any kind of powerful positions that badly that I would lie and be disloyal and do all these things. Bill Barr, look at his credibility. It's gone now. Now, I had so much confidence in that man. I never would have thought that he would do what he did. Well, you know what he did? First of all, he lied about even investigating the election claims. It came out that he lied and said he did. It's all I investigated and there wasn't nothing to it. Come to find out, it was never an investigation. Okay, then he hid, Bill Barr hid Hunter Biden's laptop information. He knew it was true. He had it all. He covered it up and hid it. Because he claimed after it's all over with, well, it was during an election season. Okay, and that's called, they say, election interference. Really, election interference is why they hid the Hunter Biden and stuff and lied and claimed it was Russian disinformation. But aren't we going through an election season now? And Trump's been, indicted 91 times. And see, people say, well, he's guilty. A lot of liberals say they wouldn't have, and see, this is another thing. You see how credibility has been bestowed upon these people? Because a lot of people say they would not be charging him with this stuff if it wasn't true. So that they think that these people are credible. And they should think that because they're supposed to be credible. Your lawyers and your prosecutors and judges are supposed to be credible. So a lot of people, even if they don't hate Trump, they say, well, they couldn't be indicting him if he really didn't do these things. But they don't know all the facts. And they don't realize one thing. Okay, first of all, you have to let common sense come in. Trump was doing business how many years? No corruption. And then when he decided to run for president the first time, you got the FBI. The CIA, everybody investigated Trump over and over and over again. They tried to blame him for Russia. They had to made up the Russia hoax, everything. And the reason they made up the Russia hoax so they could have a reason to investigate it. They knew it was no Russia hoax, but they figured if we got an investigator, so when somebody starts investigating you, especially a prosecutor, a special prosecutor, they can go in and they can say, I'm prosecuting you for A, B, and C. Well, when they start investigating, they may find D and E. That's what happened to Trump's associates. That's what happened to stupid Michael Cohen. He was a crook. Trump didn't know the guy was a crook, but he was. And so now he's mad at Trump because he was the one that was crooked. He never would have gotten charged with something if it was nothing there. But that's what they do. So all of that time they were investigating Trump, nothing. But everything that they're using now is some obscure law from 100 years ago. Okay, the one with his business right now, that crooked judge in New York, he's used some kind of law that was used over 100 years ago. And then they still didn't apply it correctly. But think about it. If you're guilty, you're guilty. If I stole something, it's cut and dry. Nobody has to go and find the law from 100 years ago and twist it and make it into, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that for somebody that's guilty of anything. You don't have to make up stuff. You don't have to make up, say they're racketeering and they're doing this and they're doing. What is the crime? It should be black and white, but none of them are black and white. It's always something they've made up and they twisted and made it out to be something. Oh, well, see this. And when somebody challenges it, it's different for Trump. Because see, if somebody else has already done it, like Biden with those records, Biden was the vice president. Some of the time he was a senator and he had classified docs. But Trump wasn't supposed to have any of them. And he was the president. They said, well, these documents were different. They weren't any different. He was the president. So you understand what I'm saying. So these people have been given credibility and they really are not credible. But I just wanted to talk about the importance and the power of credibility and how it's going to affect cases. And people saying, forget about Fonnie, Trump is still guilty. No, what they should do, if they still want to go along with this, they still should just scrap it and start from scratch with new people, because these people are tainted. That's all I want to say. Have a blessed day.